In November 2019, I was running toward the military demarcation line. My heart felt like it was going to explode. Gunshots rang out behind me. 1 shot, 2 shots, 3 shots. It felt like my back had caught fire. Even so, I could not stop. My name is Park Min-ho. Right now, I live in Seoul. 4 years ago, I was a sergeant in the Panmunjom Guard Battalion of the Korean People's Army, a place where only the most loyal soldiers in North Korea are assigned. In that place, I betrayed my country. No, my country betrayed me first. To everyone who is watching this video right now, I want to ask you something. What is freedom? I didn't understand the meaning of that word until I turned 23. I had to take 5 bullets to my body before I finally realized it. If you subscribe and hit the like button, stories of defectors like me will be able to reach many more people. Since that day, I haven't been able to sleep peacefully again. When I close my eyes, I hear gunshots. I see the faces of my comrades, the eyes of the men who pointed their guns at me and pulled the trigger. But I do not regret it. From now on, I'm going to tell you why I risked my life to cross that line. And what I saw inside North Korea. This is not a movie. This is my story.
It was the spring of 2015. I was 19 years old. In the front yard of our home in Kaesong, there was a hibiscus tree. It was a tree my father had planted. Min-ho, do you know what this tree is called? My father was a former lieutenant colonel in the Korean People's Army. Even after he was discharged, he still carried that typical military stiffness. It's a maganwa, isn't it? That's right, they say it's the national flower in South Korea. For us, the national flower is the magnolia. Sometimes my father would say strange things. Whenever he talked about South Korea, his voice would drop to a whisper. Back then, I didn't understand why. In North Korea, our family belonged to the middle upper class. It was thanks to my father's military career. We had a 2-story house in the center of Kaesong. My mother worked at a ginseng processing factory, and my younger sister Sujin was so good at studying that she got into Kim Il-sung University in Pyongyang. People around us envied our family, but behind that envy, there was surveillance. The Inminban leader, Comrade Kim Ok-san, the neighborhood unit head, walked past our house every evening. It looked like a coincidence, but it wasn't. Her eyes were always turned toward our windows, checking if the TV light was on, what time it went off, and who was coming to visit. How is your father's health these days? Her greeting was not out of concern. It was information gathering. My mother always answered the same way. Thanks to the benevolence of the party, he's doing well. Even inside the house, we had to be careful. Watch your words, watch your behavior. My father told us never to touch the radio dial. On TV, we watched only Korean Central Television. Other channels didn't exist, or rather, they were not allowed to exist. At school, it was even worse. Now it's time for Sangwachongwa, the self-criticism session. Every Saturday, we sat in a circle and criticized one another. We also had to criticize ourselves. This week, I passed in front of the great leader's portrait and greeted a little late. I deeply repent. Even if it wasn't true, you had to say something. If there was nothing to criticize, it meant you lacked loyalty. Sometimes, you even had to report your friends. Comrade Park Chiosu talked about a foreign movie yesterday. Chiosu was my friend. But after that day, his eyes changed. Survival came before friendship. At home, we had 2 portraits hanging on the wall, Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il. Every morning, my mother wiped them with a white cloth. Not a speck of dust was allowed. Once, there was an earthquake and the portraits became crooked. My mother straightened the portraits before checking the furniture. If this fall, our family is finished. Her hands were shaking. On holidays, we bowed to those portraits. We offered them cakes. even though it wasn't their birthday. On our own birthdays, there were no cakes. But on the leader's birthday, there was one. I never thought it was strange, because that was everyday life. I joined the army at 19. I volunteered. Part of it was because of my father's influence. But I also wanted to get out of Kaesong. That small world felt suffocating. I thought things might be different if I joined the army. But the army was even narrower. In basic training, the first thing we learned was not shooting. For Marshal Kim Jong-un, we give our lives. We shouted that 100 times a day, until our voices were hoarse. The slogans came before food. The training was brutal. We got up at 5 in the morning, and trained until 11 at night. All we ate was corn porridge. Meat only came on holidays. Even then, it was a piece the size of the top joint of a finger. If you're hungry, fill yourself with loyalty. That's what our company commander said. Can loyalty fill an empty stomach? Even then, I didn't question it. A year later, I was selected for the Panmunjom Guard Battalion. In North Korea, only the elite go there. You have to pass 3 rounds of background checks: family origin, ideological screening, and family relations. I passed all of them. My father was proud. Our Minho is going to Panmunjom. That means the party has recognized you. My mother was worried. Isn't it dangerous there? It was dangerous, but in a different sense. Panmunjom. There, I saw another world for the first time. Just a few meters away across the military demarcation line, South Korean soldiers were standing. They looked different from us. They were bigger. Their uniforms were different. And more than anything, their expressions were different. They were smiling. That was when I first asked myself, why are they able to smile? And we are not. But that question soon disappeared. No, I had to make it disappear. Questions were a crime. It was the autumn of 2017, my second year on duty at Panmunjom. I was 21. That night, I heard a strange sound. CCHHH freedom CCHHH. At first, I thought it was just a malfunction. The sound was coming from an old radio in our barracks. I figured it was just static from the wrong frequency. But the sound kept repeating. CCHHH people of North Korea CCHHH. From Free Republic of Korea CCHHH. My heart nearly stopped. It was a South Korean broadcast. A psychological warfare broadcast toward the north. A sound we were never supposed to hear. I quickly turned the radio off. My hands were trembling. I looked around. Luckily, no one was there. All the others were at evening roll call. That night, I couldn't sleep. The word freedom kept echoing in my head. In North Korea, freedom doesn't exist as we know it. I mean, the word exists, but it has a different meaning. Liberal democracy was the ideology of the enemy. We were taught people's democracy. A few days later, I was standing in front of that radio again. I was curious, dangerously curious. Midnight, everyone was asleep. I turned the volume down to the lowest level, and tuned the dial. CCHHH, here is today's news CCHHH. It was a South Korean news program. The accent was unfamiliar, but I could understand it. It was the same Korean language. Economic growth rate CCHHH. Unemployment rate has decreased CCHHH. Economic growth. Unemployment rate. Words I had never heard before. In North Korea, such things were never announced. We only ever heard, we are winning, everything is going well. The average monthly salary is CCHHH. I heard a number. The average monthly wage of a South Korean worker. I tried converting it into North Korean money. The result was unbelievable. Can this be real? I started listening to the radio every night. I became addicted to something very dangerous. A month passed. I learned more and more. I learned that there were cars everywhere in South Korea, that almost every home had a TV, that there was something called a computer, that people went on trips freely. Why do we have to live like this? My questions grew louder, but I couldn't share them with anyone. Then one day, I heard shocking news. My aunt had been arrested. She was my mother's younger sister, and she lived in Haisan, a city near the Chinese border. She ran a small business, bringing goods from China and selling them. In North Korea, that's quite common. The problem was that she had met with relatives in China. She has been arrested for anti-state activities. My father's voice was shaking. Anti-state activities. I knew how heavy that label was. My aunt was sent to a political prison camp. Yo dog. Almost no one comes back alive from there. I was furious. All my aunt had done was meet her relatives. How could that be a crime? But an even bigger shock followed. Our family was also punished under the guilt by association system. My father was stripped of his party membership. My mother was fired from the factory. My sister Sujin was expelled from Kim Il-sung University. What did we ever do wrong? My father shouted. I had never seen him like that before. The strong, rigid soldier I knew was collapsing in front of my eyes. Because I was in the army, I wasn't affected right away. But it was only a matter of time. Once they did another background check, I would be finished, too. Around that time, another incident erupted. One of the soldiers in our battalion tried to defect. His name was Kim Chalo. He joined the army the same year I did. We were in the same intake. Chalo failed. He was cut 100 meters before reaching the military demarcation line. 3 days later, there was a public execution. Our entire battalion was assembled. The sky was overcast. The wind was cold. Chalo was tied to a post. His eyes were not covered. He was staring at us. Traitor Kim Chalo has betrayed the motherland. The political officer's voice echoed. This is the fate of a traitor. Gunshots rang out. 1 shot, 2 shots, 3 shots. His body went limp. I couldn't close my eyes. I wasn't allowed to. Closing my eyes would mean I sympathized. And sympathy was treason. Even so, my eyes filled with tears. Why did Chalo try to defect? Did he listen to the radio like I did? Did he have the same questions? That night, I made up my mind. I have to get out of here. But how? If I failed like Chalo, I would die. To succeed, I needed a perfect plan. Every day, I watched the military demarcation line, the times of guard shift changes, the locations of the guard posts, the blind spots. I recorded everything in my head. In the spring of 2018, I was 22. It was my 3rd year on duty at Panmunjom. I had made up my mind. But putting that decision into action was a different story. Every night, I made plans. I closed my eyes and ran simulations in my head. The chances of success were low, very low. I analyzed how Chalo's attempt failed. He had tried to run at night. He thought the darkness would hide him. But that was his fatal mistake. At night, the guards are more alert. Searchlights sweep the area every few seconds. So I came up with another idea. Daytime, I would run in broad daylight. It sounded insane, but in a way, it might actually be safer. During the day, there are tourists. Foreigners visit Panmunjom. If a gunfight broke out, it would become an international incident. Of course, I knew the North Korean soldiers would shoot. They always have orders to fire at the factors. But during the day, their reaction might be slower. I could use the confusion to my advantage. The key was the military jeep. Our battalion had 3 jeeps. Officers used them. Ordinary soldiers weren't allowed to drive. But I secretly learned how. When our company commander, Comrade Choi, was drunk and passed out, I borrowed his keys. At dawn, I practiced driving. How to start the engine, how to change gears, how to accelerate, over and over again. The next problem was distance. From the northern guard post to the military demarcation line was about 800 meters. With a jeep, that's 30 seconds. On foot, 2 minutes. 30 seconds. Within that time, bullets would be flying. I thought about getting a bulletproof vest, but our unit didn't have any. For North Korean soldiers, body armor is a luxury. So instead, I ran every day. I built up my stamina. Speed would be my life. There was one more problem. Timing. When should I make the attempt? The best time was during guard change. 3 in the afternoon. There's a brief gap during the changeover. That's when I had to move. But plans alone weren't enough. I needed to prepare my heart. If I failed, I would die. Even if I succeeded, my family would suffer. My father, my mother, Sujin. What would happen to them? Every night, I wrestled with those thoughts. Should I give up? Should I just live out my life like this? But could I call this living? A line from the radio came back to me. Every human being has the right to be free. Freedom. That word refused to let me go. Then it became 2019. I was 23, my 4th year of military service. Finally, my chance came. In early November, our battalion commander went on a business trip to Pyongyang. The company commander went with him. Only the platoon leaders remained in the unit. The security grew lax. I chose a date, 11月12号, Tuesday. That morning, I woke up as usual. Morning roll call, breakfast, shouting slogans. Everything went on like any other day. But my heart was pounding like crazy. I couldn't eat lunch. It wouldn't go down. At 230 in the afternoon, I said I was going to the bathroom. No one suspected a thing. I headed to the motor pool. The jeep was there. The key was in my pocket. My hands were shaking. My heart felt like it would burst. Now, I got into the jeep and started the engine. The sound roared through the air. At that moment, I heard a shout behind me. Sergeant Park Min-ho, what are you doing? It was Sentry Kim Young-chao. His eyes were wide with shock. I slammed my foot on the accelerator as hard as I could. The jeep shot forward. Shouts erupted behind me. Stop. I said stop. I didn't stop. I could see the military demarcation line ahead. 800 meters. 700. 600. Gunshots exploded. The sound pierced my ears. Bang, 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 bang. The rear windshield shattered. Glass fragments flew everywhere. I ducked my head and kept driving. 500 meters. 400. The engine screamed. Top speed, around 80 kilometers an hour. I glanced back. 4 North Korean soldiers were chasing after me. Guns in their hands. AK rifles. Searchlights came on, even though it was broad daylight. The beams stabbed into my eyes. 300 meters. 200. Suddenly the jeep shook violently. A tire had blown out. A bullet had hit it. The jeep skidded sideways. I lost control. I made a split-second decision. I'm abandoning the vehicle. I threw the door open and jumped out. I hit the ground rolling. Pain shot through my knees. But I forced myself to stand. I ran, like a madman. The military demarcation line was right in front of me. A concrete marker. If I could just get across that line. 150 meters. 100. The gunfire didn't stop. Now it sounded much closer. A bullet whizzed past my ear. I could hear it cutting through the air. My legs were trembling, but I couldn't stop. 50 meters. Then something slammed into my back. At first, I thought someone had punched me. A brutal blow. My breast cut. Blood started pouring out. Warm liquid ran down my back. I've been hit, but I still didn't stop. Adrenaline was flooding my body. I had no time to feel pain. 20 meters. 10. Another impact. This time in my shoulder. My arm went limp. The line was right there. I leapt, with every last bit of strength I had. My feet crossed that line. The South, the Republic of Korea. But it wasn't over. The gunfire kept going. The North Korean soldiers didn't stop shooting. I kept running. I saw the Freedom House building. If I could just make it there. A sharp pain tore through my leg. Another bullet. I fell, but I got up again. I crawled forward, dragging myself. Freedom House was getting closer. I looked back. North Korean soldiers were standing right in front of the military demarcation line. They could not cross it. If they did, it would mean war. But they kept firing. I staggered around to the back of the building and hid. The wall shielded my body. The gunfire stopped. Suddenly, it was quiet. I tried to breathe, but I couldn't. Too much blood had poured out. My whole body was soaked in it. My vision blurred. Am I going to die here? Terror washed over me. Was it going to end like this? I'd reached freedom, only to die before I could live it. Instinctively, I started dragging dead leaves toward me. I piled them up. I hid my body under the leaves. I closed my eyes. My consciousness faded. I don't know how much time passed. Then I heard voices. He's here. We've got a wounded man. It was Korean, South Korean accent. I opened my eyes. I saw soldiers. South Korean soldiers. Their uniforms were different from ours. Can you hear me? Are you conscious? I tried to answer, but no sound came out. He's bleeding badly. Call for a helicopter. Someone lifted me up and laid me on a stretcher. I could see the sky. Clouds drifting by. Then I heard a helicopter. The rotors chopping the air. Getting closer and closer. I closed my eyes again. I'm alive. That was my last thought. My mind went dark. I woke up in the middle of the darkness. A white ceiling, fluorescent lights, a strange smell, disinfectant. Where am I? I tried to move, but I couldn't. Tubes were attached all over my body. Beep, beep, beep. The sound of a machine, tracking my heartbeat. I was in a hospital. My memory came rushing back. Panmunjom, the gunfire, the running, the blood. I was alive. The door opened. A person in a white coat walked in. A doctor. So you're finally awake. It's a miracle. He was speaking Korean, with a South Korean accent. His voice was gentle. I tried to speak. My throat was dry. Water. The doctor gave me a drink of water. It was cool and refreshing. Where am I? I asked. You're at a Jew University hospital in Suwon. You had surgery. We removed 5 bullets from your body. 5 bullets. I had been hit 5 times. The fact that you're alive at all is a miracle. That's what the doctor said. A miracle. The word didn't quite feel real yet. I spent several days in the intensive care unit. My consciousness came and went. I had dreams, nightmares, gunshots, the smell of blood, Charlo's face, my mother's tears. When I woke up, my body was drenched in sweat. A week later, I was moved to a regular ward. My body slowly started to recover, but my heart did not. What happened to my family? That thought never left my mind. In North Korea, families of defectors are punished. Guilt by association. My father, my mother, Sujin. They must have been dragged off to a political prison camp. In exchange for my freedom, they had been sent to hell. The guilt crushed me. One day, I had a visitor. A man in a suit. An agent from the National Intelligence Service. Mr. Park Min-ho, may I ask you a few questions? The questioning began. They asked me many things. The state of the North Korean military. Weapon deployments. The chain of command. I told them everything I knew. How many troops are stationed at Panmunjom? Roughly about 850. What kind of weapons do they carry? AK rifles and pistols. Some soldiers have grenades as well. The questioning went on for days. I was exhausted, but I had to cooperate. Sometimes they doubted me, wondered if I might be a spy. I understood. It takes time to build trust. A month later, I was discharged from the hospital, but I had nowhere to go. The NIS provided me with temporary housing, a small apartment. They continued the investigation there. That's when I turned on the TV. The news was on. They were talking about me. A North Korean soldier defects through Panmunjom, making a dramatic escape under heavy gunfire. The screenshot footage of Panmunjom. CCTV video. A man running. Me. Bullets sparking around him. I couldn't look away. So that was me. It didn't feel real. The news continued. The North Korean regime has strongly condemned this defection. Then the screen switched to a North Korean broadcast. Korean Central Television. Traitor Park Min-ho is a piece of trash who has betrayed the motherland. My name was called out. In North Korea, I was now officially a traitor. The traitor's family will be severely punished. Family, that single word, made my heart stop. I turned off the TV. My hands were shaking. What have I done? Regret crashed over me, but there was no going back. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling and thought, how am I supposed to live now? I couldn't return to North Korea. I couldn't save my family. I was alone. Loneliness swallowed me whole. Even so, I couldn't give up. If I threw my life away now, my family's suffering would be meaningless. I had to live, and not just live. I had to live well. That was the only thing left that I could do. After the investigation ended, I was sent to Hanwon, a resettlement center for North Korean defectors. That is where I began to learn how to start a new life. Hanwon in Ansang, Gyeonggi Province. I arrived there. Hanwon helps defectors adapt to South Korean society. It's a 3-month education program. There, I learned how to live a new life. On the first day, a staff member welcomed me. Welcome. From here, you'll be making a new start. A new start. The words felt heavy. Hanwon was full of people like me. Defectors with all kinds of stories. People who had crossed the Tumen River. People who had come through China. People who had fled via third countries. Very few had come through Panmunjom like I had. You came through the DMZ. That's incredible. Another defector said that to me. It wasn't incredible. It was reckless. Classes began. The first lesson was understanding the Republic of Korea. The Republic of Korea is a democracy. The instructor said, the people are the owners of this country. The people are the owners. In North Korea, such an idea is unthinkable. There, the only owner is the supreme leader. You will now become citizens of the Republic of Korea. You have the right to vote. Vote. I had never cast a real vote in my life. North Korea has elections, but there is only one candidate. You can only approve. You can criticize politicians. You can criticize the government. It was shocking. In North Korea, criticizing the government means death. You can use the internet freely. The internet. I had never seen it before. Computers existed only in military headquarters. After class, we went to the computer room. For the first time in my life, I used the internet. I typed into the search bar, North Korea. Thousands of results appeared. Photos, articles, videos. The country I had lived in looked like a stranger's land. On that screen, then I saw something that truly shocked me. A satellite image. The Korean peninsula at night. The south was full of light. Cities shining brightly. The north was pitch black. Utter darkness. Only Pyongyang glowed faintly. We really were living in the dark. Tears rolled down my cheeks. The second class was about basic economics. In South Korea, you can open a bank account. You receive your salary into it. A salary. As a soldier in North Korea, I barely got paid anything. Enough to buy a couple of packs of cigarettes. You can also work part-time. You can earn around 10,000 won per. 10,000 won. In North Korea, that's a lot of money. The instructor asked us, is there something you'd like to do? I thought about it, something I'd like to do. In North Korea, I had never been allowed to think like that. The party decided everything. I want to study, I answered. I want to go to university. The instructor smiled. That's a great goal. There are special admission programs for the factors. You should try applying. University. In North Korea, that was a privilege, reserved for the elite. It was a world far from mine. But here, it was possible. Hope began to grow. The third part of the program was psychological counseling. You all carry trauma, the counselor said. Please talk about it. So I talked about the gunfire, the public execution, the fear for my family. Everything. You feel guilty, the counselor said. Yes, because I defected. My family is suffering, but that is not your fault. It is the fault of the North Korean regime. My head understood that, but my heart did not. It will take time. Let yourself heal slowly. That's what the counselor said. 3 months passed at Panmunjom. At the graduation ceremony, I received my certificate. Mr. Park Min-ho, congratulations on your new start. As a citizen of the Republic of Korea. A new start. This time, it really was the beginning. After leaving Panmunjom, I was assigned a rental apartment. A small studio, on the outskirts of Seoul. It was the first place I'd ever lived alone. They handed me the keys. I opened the door. An empty room, but it was my space. I opened the window. The night view of Seoul spread out before me. Lights, countless lights, headlights, office windows, street lamps. It was nothing like the nights of North Korea. Looking at those lights, I made a promise. I will live well, no matter what. My new life had begun. It is now 2025. I live in Seoul. It has been 6 years since I escaped from North Korea. I am currently a third-year university student, majoring in political science and international relations. I got in through a special admission track for North Korean defectors. At first, it was incredibly hard. I couldn't keep up with the lectures. Education in the North and South are completely different. I barely knew any English. I wasn't good with computers either. But I refused to give up. I studied in the library every day. I memorized English vocabulary. I learned how to write reports. My classmates helped me. Min-ho, if there's something you don't get, just ask. At first, I was wary. In North Korea, you should always be suspicious of people who try to help you. They might have ulterior motives. But here, it was different. My friends genuinely helped me, with no expectations in return. So this is what a free society looks like. That's what I realized. On weekends, I work part-time. I have a job at a wedding hall buffet. I make 12,000 won an hour. Back when I was a soldier in North Korea, my monthly pay was just a few thousand won, barely enough to buy 2 packs of cigarettes. Now, I can earn more than that in a single day. I earn money, and I save it for the future. In North Korea, I could never think about the future. Surviving today was all that mattered. But here, I can make plans. That's what freedom is. Of course, there are still hard days. Sometimes, I have nightmares. I hear gunshots. I smell blood. I wake up drenched in sweat. Thinking about my family makes my chest ache. My father, my mother, Sujin. I have no idea how they're doing now. There's no way to find out. The North Korean regime has branded me a traitor. My family is paying the price. The guilt is still there. Even so, I remember what the counselor told me. Living well is how you repay your family. I am trying to believe that. Now I also work to help other defectors. I share my story on YouTube. I give talks. I tell people about the reality of North Korea. North Korea is hell, but many people don't know that. That's what I always say. Some people doubt us. Aren't the factors just making things up? It makes me angry, but I also understand. They haven't experienced it, so I showed them the scars on my body. Bullet wounds, 5 of them. This is the evidence. Most people fall silent. A few days ago, I stopped by a convenience store to buy a drink. There were dozens of drinks lined up. Cola, cider, juice, coffee, tea. So many choices that I didn't know what to pick. I found myself smiling. In North Korea, there is no choosing. You eat what you are given. If there is anything to eat at all, here you can choose. It's such a small thing. But I think freedom starts from small things like that. This morning, I watched the news. There was an article criticizing a politician. I wasn't surprised. Here, that's normal. But sometimes I think, what if someone wrote something like that? In North Korea, the answer is simple. They'd be dead. You don't understand how precious freedom is until you lose it. I am now 29. I've spent 1/3 of my life in North Korea, and another third in South Korea. What will I do with the last third? I have a dream. I want to go to graduate school. I want to specialize in North Korean human rights. I want to help other defectors. And one day, if Korea is reunified, I want to see my family again. I want to tell my father, Dad, I'm sorry, but I don't regret what I did. I want to hug my mother. I want to show Sujin, the city of Seoul, this shining city. I don't know when that day will come. Maybe I'll never see them again for the rest of my life. But I will not lose hope. I have gained my freedom. I risked my life for it. I will not waste this freedom. Every day, I am grateful. Grateful that I can breathe. That I can choose. That I can dream. This is my story. Thank you for listening till the end. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and share this video. I hope this story reaches many more people. Freedom is not free. I have paid its price. You already have it. Please remember that. Thank you.